At the beginning of the story, we are introduced to Xiao Bai, the most powerful MMA fighter in China, who is famous for his kung fu techniques. This time he is participating in the World Championship, and he has to face the best MMA athlete from America. This fighter is no slouch when it comes to martial arts. He even has the nickname Crocodile, because he often pounces on his enemies like a crocodile. Even so, Xiao Bai can still fight him with epic punches. But Xiao Bai unfortunately died in the brutal fight after receiving a lethal blow. On that day, international news reported his tragic death. He was the best fighter China had to offer. A few years later, we are shown MMA managers meeting to prepare for their new tournament. There are several managers who will be participating in this tournament, and one of them is Li Dan, who is the representative of China, as well as the former manager of Xiao Bai. Although now focused on being a manager, Li Dan was once a great fighter in her time. Since Xiao Bai's death, MMA fighters from China have always been underestimated, especially by American fighters who feel much stronger. Meanwhile, Li Dan chooses not to say much. After the meeting was over, she remembers Xiao Bai's last message, and that time he had told Li Dan to give his younger brother, Xiao Nan, a chance to continue his work in the world of fistfight. Without wasting any more time, Li Dan visited a fisticuffs trainer. He was the person appointed by Li Dan to manage his school. Inside the boxing gym, Li Dan was amazed by the spirit shown by Xiao Nan. She believed that Xiao Bai's younger brother could become the greatest fighter in the world. Moreover, Xiao Nan now has a great motivation to be brutal because he wants to avenge his brother. However, the coach said that Xiao Nan was not used to professional competition. He has only been practicing traditional martial arts, which makes him inexperienced in MMA fighting. However, his fisticuff skills should not be doubted. He was one of the best fighters the coach had. Long story short, Xiao Nan finally had his first match against a professional fighter. Here, Xiao Nan looked stage fright and uncomfortable under the spotlights and cameras, but once the fight started, Xiao Nan started to more confidence and almost beat the fighter in the first round. With brutality, Xiao Nan beat the opponent to a pulp. But unfortunately, the fighter had a very hard punch, which made Xiao Nan a little dazed. Then the fighter took the chance to punch Xiao Nan in the face, knocking him down. After the match, Li Dan went to Xiao Nan in the locker room. Li Dan then said that defeat is not the end of the world. Xiao Nan still had the chance to avenge his brother's death by becoming the best and most brutal fighter ever. In addition, Xiao Nan still had a chance to have a fist fight against Crocodile. So Li Dan hoped that Xiao Nan would not give up just because of one match. Without thinking, Xiao Nan decided to join Li Dan's management, but before that, Li Dan invited him to train in the place of the best fighters. It's just that they are not interested in the outside world, so they use their fighting knowledge only for self-defense. Once there, Xiao Nan was immediately greeted by a fighter with a deadly kick that almost broke his leg. Xiao Nan was shocked right away, because he never found a fighter as strong as him, even though the person who just kicked him was just an ordinary man in the village. Li Dan understood Xiao Nan's feelings, because that place was said to be a hell for fighters. And it turned out that Li Dan had lived there as a child, so it was no wonder that she grew up to be a very strong woman, because from childhood Li Dan has been taught how to deal with a very brutal world. The next day, Li Dan told Xiao Nan to study all his potential opponents in the international tournament. After that, Li Dan saw a news story featuring the figure of Crocodile. Here, Crocodile has been acquitted of the murder charge against Xiao Bai. According to the MNA, at that time Crocodile did not violate any rules, and Xiao Bai fell off because of his physical condition. Hearing that, of course, Xiao Nan was very angry and wanted to overthrow the fighter. Since that day, Xiao Nan has been training really hard, so that he can defeat Crocodile and all his opponents in the tournament. Li Dan then said that Crocodile had a very violent style. But on the other hand, he also mastered jujutsu techniques, so, inevitably, Xiao Nan had to learn them. In addition to physical training on his own, Xiao Nan also fought with bulls that were physically much stronger than humans. One day, Li Dan accompanied Xiao Nan to run on gravel, but when passing a river, Lai Dan was suddenly attacked by a real crocodile. Instead of leaving, Xiaonan fought it with all his might as he envisioned the crocodile. At the same time, Lai Dan baited small crocodiles with her blood so that Xiaonan could focus on fighting the huge crocodile. Because of hard training, Xiaonan was able to keep up with the crocodile. Then, with a combination of kung fu and wrestling techniques that he had learned over the years, Xiaonan finally managed to defeat it. After that, he threw the crocodile into the middle of the river while imagining the face of the crocodile fighter. Lai Dan was proud of Xiaonan's progress. Lai Dan then treated Xiaonan's wounds with herbal leaves while telling him about her past. When Lai Dan was 8 years old, she was made a slave by the locals and trained to be a brutal fighter. Every day, all she did was train and fight. She grew into a street fighter that everyone feared, as she always won. But all the money she made was taken by He Master. Until when she was 18 years old, she managed to escape to America after stealing money from the gun mafia. But once in America, Lai Dan had a hard time becoming an MMA athlete because she was a woman who was considered weak in the fighting world. Eventually, she decided to quit fighting and set up a management company for fighters, starting from scratch and nothing to become successful. Unfortunately, Xiao Bai, who was his best fighter, is now dead. So Lai Dan could only rely on Xiaonan. Long story short, Lai Dan decided to organize a fight in the village, where she challenged the neighborhood fighters to fight Xiaonan. And surprisingly, Xiaonan was able to defeat them with a single punch. Even when ganged up on by all his opponents, Xiaonan was able to turn the tables and knock them out with ease. Xiaonan's brutality continued to more intense, and he was looking forward to beating up Crocodile. Lai Dan, however, suggested that Xiaonan should increase his experience milestone first by joining a match in a nearby city. Once there, Xiaonan went head-to-head with one of the city's most brutal fighters and had yet to be defeated. What's more, he possessed an extremely deadly tiger move. Even so, Xiaonan was not at all daunted, and sure enough, when the fight started, Xiaonan immediately overwhelmed him. In just a matter of seconds, he was able to defeat his opponent with an iron punch move. Just as he wanted to step out of the ring, a bald fighter suddenly attacked him. As a result, he was no choice to fight again. This time his opponent turned out to be stronger than the previous one. Because Xiaonan was overwhelmed, Lai Dan told him to use a submission technique, and finally Xiaonan could to lock his opponent's neck until the fighter passed out. Next, Xiaonan was challenged by a drunk fighter. The foreign fighter climbed into the ring carrying a bottle of alcohol. Then suddenly the foreign fighter hit Xiaonan's head with the bottle until it broke and beat him hard. Fortunately, Xiaonan was able to keep up with the foreign fighter's ferocity. Here, the fighter was using the fast and deadly wolf style. Xiaonan finally followed the fighter's way of fighting so that he could find his weakness. At the same time, there was a suspicious figure who came to the place, and it turned out that they came to kidnap Lai Dan. At first, Lai Dan could fight them, but because she was alone, she was finally defeated and taken away from there. Seeing that, Xiaonan couldn't help but to immediately defeat the foreign fighters and immediately save Lai Dan. While looking for Lai Dan, suddenly a woman named JK approached him. She claimed to know the kidnapper who took Lai Dan. On the other hand, Lai Dan is being held by a gun mafia named Wang. He is a mafia that Lai Dan once stole money from, and here Wang wants revenge in a very disgusting way. Fortunately, Xiaonan and JK arrived in time. They broke through the security wall with a car, then attacked the guards. Their arrival caught Wang off guard, so Lai Dan can escape easily. Xiaonan then went inside to finish Wang off, but it turns out that the fighter is also a pretty strong martial artist. Lai Dan, who was fed up, finally took a gun to shoot Wang. Unfortunately, the fighter could to avoid all shots. He then mobilized his mercenaries to slaughter them, but luckily Xiaonan and Lai Dan could escape in JK's car. But before that, Xiaonan had thrown a grenade towards the explosives. That certainly made Wang's headquarters fall apart. A very angry Wang immediately sent troops to chase the three of them, and there was an exciting and adrenaline-filled scene where Xiaonan, Lai Dan, and JK fought the fighters recklessly. Although they were surrounded, but thanks to epic cooperation, they were finally able to slaughter Wang's troops. But unfortunately, reinforcements from Wang's side came and chased them again. Seeing that, Xiaonan immediately jumped into their car and fought against 10 mercenaries. Not just stunning, Lai Dan was also brutalized, and they both won by a landslide. After a day of fisticuffs, they decide to rest near the river. Here JK introduces herself to Lai Dan. It turns out that JK has known Lai Dan for a long time. That's because JK was also a slave when she was a kid. Hearing this, Lai Dan also gave money to JK so that she could get out of that place. Meanwhile, Lai Dan and Xiaonan wanted to leave for an MMA tournament. Long story short, Xiaonan and Lai Dan traveled to Macau for their first match. After training for 3 years with beasts and various fighters, Xiaonan was confident that this time he could definitely become the most powerful fighter in the world. On the other hand, Crocodile had already won because his first opponent was not present in the arena. Xiaonan, on the other hand, has a strong opponent, and that person is the fighter who defeated him at the beginning of the story. Even so, now Xiaonan's skills and confidence had increased dramatically, and without much talking, the first round finally began in a very surprising manner. Xiaonan was able to defeat his opponent with just one punch. Here Xiaonan really went crazy, and by the third match, he had defeated all his opponents with ease. Crocodile's manager, on the other hand, played cunningly by disqualifying all of Crocodile's opponents. As a result, Crocodile was able to win 3 times in a row without having to fight. In his next match, Xiaonan would face an opponent almost on par with Crocodile. He was a fighter named King Kong who was known to be extremely strong. And sure enough, he attacked Xiaonan ferociously and overwhelmed him. In addition, King Kong also mastered strong submission techniques, making it difficult for Xiaonan to counterattack. But luckily, Xiaonan was able to survive until the end of the first half. In the second half, Lai Dan told Xiaonan to keep playing defense and also rely on tactics. Here Lai Dan also told King Kong's weak point in the ribs. If Xiaonan could attack that area, he would most likely be able to rise to the upper hand. Xiaonan followed the advice, and finally he was able to subdue King Kong. After that, Xiaonan really became violent until his opponent did not move at all. Xiaonan's victory also made Crocodile's manager nervous, because Xiaonan would meet Crocodile in the final round. The next day, news of Xiaonan's victory was broadcast around the world. They were all amazed and surprised by his skills, especially since he was just an amateur fighter before. On the other hand, Xiaonan was training at Lai Dan's boxing gym. However, she suddenly asked him to withdraw from the tournament. Lai Dan was afraid that Xiaonan would lose to Crocodile and suffer the same fate as his brother. Xiaonan couldn't understand why Lai Dan's suddenly changed her mind, and it turns out that Lai Dan has been threatened by Crocodile's manager, who will destroy her company if Xiaonan wins. Lai Dan also admits that her has been using Xiaonan for profit, but since it didn't go according to her plan, she told Xiaonan to just give up. In exchange, Lai Dan would give Xiaonan a lot of money. That night, all the agents and athlete managers held a press conference, because Lai Dan wanted to withdraw Xiaonan from the tournament so that Crocodile could become the champion even without fighting. During the question session, Xiaonan suddenly appeared and told the reporters that he would not resign. Seeing that, Crocodile was furious and almost attacked Xiaonan in front of everyone. On the other hand, the reporters urged Lai Dan and the organizers to allow Xiaonan to fight in the finals. But as Xiaonan's manager, Lai Dan still wanted to resign, and when the situation was tense, JK suddenly appeared from behind. She said that she would replace Lai Dan as Xiaonan's manager. In other words, Xiaonan still had a chance to get revenge on Crocodile. Long story short, the final round was held with a huge audience. Not only that, but television stations also broadcasted the match. Without wasting any time, the first round started with a bang. But strangely, Xiaonan and Crocodile didn't fight with tactics, they both brutally fought without rules like people who wanted to kill each other. Until finally, the referee was forced to separate the two of them. Here JK asked Xiao Nan to focus more and not get carried away. In addition, she also told him that Crocodile's weak point was in the hips, so no matter what, Xiao Nan must be able to attack from the side angle. But because of his huge grudge, Xiao Nan was still brutal in the end, because his goal was to finish Crocodile. Unfortunately, in the fourth round, Xiao Nan was overwhelmed, and after struggling for a long time, Crocodile suddenly pulled Xiao Nan's hand and broke his fingers. Seeing that, Lai Dan, who was watching from a distance, immediately contacted JK. She told her to stop the match because Xiao Nan was badly injured. However, Xiao Nan didn't want to give up so easily. He had to defeat the Crocodile at all costs. When round 5 was about to begin, Xiao Nan suddenly remembered what Lai Dan had said, that Crocodile could lose if his body was unbalanced. Therefore, Xiao Nan immediately attacked his legs, and Xiao Nan won the final round. Because of his victory, Xiao Nan is now dubbed the best fighter in the world, but most importantly for him, he was able to avenge his brother. The next day, Xiao Nan asked GK about Lai Dan. However, the woman had left Macau, feeling guilty towards Xiao Nan. Xiao Nan wanted to thank her for all the help she had given him. A few years later, Lai Dan was seen in seclusion away from the city, but not long after that, a man came to her. Unexpectedly, it turned out to be Xiao Nan, who had disguised himself to surprise him. At the end of the story, they seemed to like each other. As they meet again, the movie ended.